Hello and welcome to my video. Mr.net is here. This is video number 7 of our Sudoku tutorial. In the previous videos we create this grid here. We can insert big numbers, we can also insert small numbers. And in the next videos we want to create a Sudoku game with values and which have to be inserted into this grid. The first thing what I do is I go to my script folder, right click and create a new C# script. I call this script English _ Sudoku object. Double click and I open this script in Visual Studio. We don't have to inherit from mono behavior, and we also don't need the start and the update method. This object only contains information about my Sudoku or my fields. So for that I create a public property which is a integer with two dimensions. I call this integer values, and I also instantiate these integers. So I have two dimensions. One dimension is for the row and one dimension is for the column. Now I save this object, I go back to Unity, and in my script folder I create a second script. I call this script the English _ Sudoku generator, and double click, I open this script. I also don't need the mono behavior. We also don't need the start and update method. I implement for the first time a public static method which returns me an English Sudoku object, and I call this method create Sudoku object. And I have to return a new English Sudoku object. So I save the script here and I go to my script, to my English game script. Under my start method here I create a new method, a private void, and I call this method create Sudoku object. So, and this method calls my English Sudoku generator and returns me a new Sudoku object. I call this the Sudoku object. And now I want to insert each value from the Sudoku object into my game. And we have here a dictionary, the _ English field prefab object dictionary. And this dictionary contains each English field property object. So I create here two loops. One loop for the row, it starts from 0, smaller than 9, and inside this loop I create a second loop for the column. It starts also with 0, smaller than 9, and here inside this body I can say current value is Sudoku object dot values, And with the row and the column, I can get from this Sudoku object the current value. And this current value has to be inserted into my English field property object, English field prefab object. So I say English field prefab object dictionary, which has as a key a tuple with a row and a column, and this dictionary returns me an English field prefab object. I call this the field object, and inside this field object I have the method setNumber, and the number here is the current value. So I also have to call this createSudoku object method here in my start method. So I save this script, I go back to Unity, and I start the game. We see I create a Sudoku game with only 0 numbers. My field here, or a Sudoku game, does not contain any 0 numbers. So I have to go in my script into the createSudoku object method, and inside this second loop I have to ask if if the current value is not 0, then I can insert this value into the Sudoku game field. Otherwise, it is an empty value and I have to ignore it. So I save the script, I go into Unity and start my game, and now no value is set. So to test it, I can say here Sudoku object.values, and I take a random value is 9. So I insert into the dimension 4, column 4, the value 9. Now I go into my script and I start the game, and one of these fields, dimension 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the column and that's the row, we have the number 9. We see also that I can change the value, but that's wrong. If a Sudoku game is created, the created values cannot be changed. So for that I have to implement inside my on-click field prefab. In this method we set the current hovered object. So before we set this object here, we ask if the English field prefab object can be changed or not. And for that we go into the English field prefab object, and inside this object I create a new property, a public boolean, and I call it is changeable. And this boolean is default true. So I save this, I go back to my on-click field prefab method, and here inside this if body, English field prefab object dot is changeable, so I can change this object. I copy this and use it here into my first if body. So I save this, and here in my create Sudoku object, after I set the number, I say field object dot is changeable is false. I save it, I go back to Unity, and now I start the game. I have here the number 9, and if I click it, I cannot set it as a hover mode. I cannot mark it as active, so I can't change the value here. That's okay for me. And I also want to implement that my grid here, or my Sudoku field, looks a little bit better. And for that I go into my canvas, into my main panel, and create a UI image. This image has the color black, and I have to zoom a little bit in. And the width of this image is the spacing between my boxes. So I use here 10. This is the spacing, but I take a smaller number, the number 9. And the height is the same height like my Sudoku field panel, and this is 500. The height is 500. And the position is firstly this position. Then I duplicate this image and set this position here. Then I also duplicate this image and I replace the width with the height. So the width is 500 and the height is 9. And with this I can create a table or a grid for my Sudoku game. I have to change also this position. Okay, I save this. Now I start the game. We see that these positions are wrong, so I go into my scene and I change this position. This position is changing on the x-axis, so I have here minus 83, minus 83. This one is on, no, come on, 82. Then this one has to be changed on the y-axis, and this is 182. And this one is 16.16. 60.6, sorry. So now I stop the game. And I have to change the position. This image is minus 38. This image is 82. Oh, sorry, this is minus 83. This is 82. This one is on the y-axis 182, and this one was 16.6. So I save this, I start the game, and now it looks better for my game. I also have to delete this number here. That's only a test value. So this is this line here. Well, that's it for this video, and in the next few videos we have to create a random Sudoku game. So if you like this video, please give me a comment or give me a feedback, and hopefully I see you in the next video. Bye.